Hey, good morning, YouTube. Welcome to Helmig Homestead. So, we're going to be talking today. Let's see if we can get rid of some of this stuff here. This is my first time using this kind of software. So, let's see if we can. There we go. Come on now. There we go. Okay, so now what your husband really wants for Christmas. It's getting that time of year, isn't it, guys? Are you sitting there thinking, what in the world am I going to get this guy? He has everything in the world. If he needs something, he goes and gets it, right? What am I going to get him? I'll tell you what to go get him. Find your nearest dealer. You can find it on Google. Ace Hardware here has them. They're all over the place. Go find your local Stihl chainsaw dealer. That's what he wants. Now, there are several levels of Stihl chainsaw, and it's going to depend on what your husband does. Is he just a homeowner? Do you guys have kind of a small farm and ranch? Is he, a big saw guy? Does he really use it a lot? Is he hauling big timber? Does he just need to cut a limb out in the garden? So there's going to be some variables here. So now I made the list of the perfect Stihl chainsaw list, from basically smallest use up to full-size logging timber, full-size go-around. So the problem was, yeah, that's not going to work. So I logged on to the Stihl website, right? I didn't want to recommend a saw that wasn't no longer available. Sometimes they do that; they change models, and they did. They not only changed models, they changed everything. So I had to go back through the list, find what's comparable, and we're going to go from there. So my ideal list, if you can find a used one or a Stihl shop that still has the old ones in stock, I would recommend, starting from smallest to biggest, the MS290 Farm Boss, the 440, or the 460 Magnum. Those would be my top three of all time. Best chainsaws ever made, in my opinion. So they don't offer that anymore. And this year, Stihl came out, they finally released a brand new product. A lot of guys are really hyped up about it. So if he's into big saws, that would be some bragging rights for him if he actually got one, because they're really hard to find. So, without further ado here, let's see if I can do this, and we're going to try this again. You guys should be able to see everything I can see. Maybe not. There we go. All right. So now let's go to the Stihl web page. Okay, so now with what's new, if you guys want to find a dealer or look online, I'm going to start in the farm and ranch saws, okay? And then I would go down. I would screw all these, unless you're going to be a little arborist or an old man, or I wouldn't go with any of that. Right here, your MS271 Farm Boss. This will do everything a homeowner needs to do. It will fall a tree. It will limb in the garden. It will do everything he needs to do. It's a little bit lighter. So the MS271, you're looking at the old 270, and they used to have the 270 Farm Boss. It's a 50.2 cc engine, and it only weighs in at 12.3 pounds. So it's pretty lightweight, easy to maneuver. That's kind of the bottom of the barrel, but a good, dependable saw, by all means. Your next step up is going to be your MS291. This was equal to the 290 that I was talking about earlier in my top three. That's about where I would have started. This used to come as a 290 Farm Boss. Now it's just the MS291. You're looking at 55.5 cc's. So you're getting a lot more motor, and it's still only weighing 12.3 pounds. So it's just as light with way more power. Most of these just come with a 20-inch bar stock. I still have a 20-inch bar on mine. I use this for my main farm and ranch kind of small task saw. But it is a cutting fool, and it'll just run forever. Back in 2008, in that big economic collapse we had, the old version of this, just the 290 Farm Boss, uh, cut firewood enough to make a living. I fed my family and paid my bills with this exact saw, and it took the abuse, and I still have it today. It runs great. It's one heck of a saw. You can't go wrong with it. This is stepping up from a homeowner, going to more of a like your farm and ranch application. This is perfect and ideal. It's everything you need. It's plenty of power. It's not super heavy. I think I went over it already. You're getting let's see, you're getting 5 more cc's out of the motor, but it's still only 12.3 pounds, the power head. So it's still pretty lightweight. So now let's jump up a little bit, because anything after that, you're going to want to go up to professional saws. Now, back in the day, they used to have a 361, and not everybody liked the 361. So it had its issues. It ran a little hot. Some people blew them up, and they fixed it. They realized that. They fixed the problems. So now they have the MS362 and the 362CM. I believe the CM difference is basically that's the Pro version. You got like the homeowner version and the Pro version. What's the difference here? Oh, maybe it's backwards. Anyway, what's the difference? Well, it's just a little bit better parts. Your bearings are steel housed instead of plastic housed, that kind of stuff. It'll last a lot longer. And really, the only difference is, I mean, like $20. To get the Pro, you might as well get the Pro. So the 362 used to be the old 361. It's redone. The engine is not as finicky as it used to be. Now you're stepping up to 59 cc's. But guys, this is still 12.3 pounds. So now you're up a whole 10 cc's, which is a lot of extra saw in that little of a package, and it's the same weight as the 271 Farm Boss or the 291. So you're getting a lot more power. With that power, you can throw a longer bar on it, longer chain, fall bigger timber. You have a lot more options of what you want to do with it. So now, this saw, guys, I would say this is farm and ranch / prosumer, okay? I wouldn't, if I was a timber faller, again, this would not be my falling saw. But this is a saw I would keep in the back of the truck in case my falling saw blew up, got smashed, whatever. At least I had something that was capable enough to finish out the day, and this saw would do it. I have a 361 actually out in my shed. I use it quite a bit too. I run a 25-inch bar on it with full skip chain and stuff, and it just eats wood for lunch. If you guys watched any of my other videos, you've seen it in action. It's just a really dependable, hot running saw. Really cuts the wood, guys. Highly recommended. My ideal saw really would be the 440. But if you look nowadays, 362, and it jumps right up to 462. The 440 no longer is an option, sadly. It was one of the best saws in my opinion, but it's no longer an option. If you've watched my other videos, you can still get a knockoff 440 from Pulse Forma, and everything is interchangeable with the old ones. So it's still kind of a true 440, but it's not as good as the steel is, let's be honest. So, that being said, the next one, while we're right here, you're going to jump up to the 462. Again, you're going to have like the, kind of the prosumer versus more the pro. This is what we used to run logging back when it was the MS 460. We had the 460 Magnums. They were a heck of a saw. I fell in love with them. My saw was used when I got it back when I was logging. And old number 2, each logger had his number written on there. I had old number 2. I mean, it was old and beat up when I got it, and I spent thousands and thousands and thousands of hours behind that saw. 8 hours a day, all day long, never gave up. I think I had to replace a clutch in it one time after how many thousands of hours, it was really just indestructible, kind of like a fine wine. The older it got, just the better it cut, the better it was. I loved it. I wouldn't mind having another one, to be honest. Minus that $1,000 price tag. Ouch. I know, but you pay for it, guys. So this is, you're stepping up beyond farm and ranch. This is more of a, even if you are a farm ranch owner, but you have a bunch of timber on there that you're ready to harvest, this is kind of more for you. This is very much a bigger boy. You know, it's just way bigger. So um, the 462, you're jumping up to 72.2 cc's. Okay, so you're almost double it, not quite. Well, you're time and a half your power. Well, that's a lot of power. But you're jumping up to 13.9 pounds on this guy too. So it's going to be heavier, but that's a big handful of saw right there, guys. That's really anything anybody would ever need, even professional logging. That's the tool. You get into some of these like 661s over here, you're talking falling huge timber, you know, and having a 48-inch bar and stuff like that. It's for most guys, this is not going to be necessary. This 460 right here, or the 462 now, is going to do everything you want to do. Now, guys, okay, let's see if we can do this here, because what I want to do, you can see what I'm seeing anyway. So what I want to do is, I really want to tell you, if you're really shopping for your husband, if he can use a saw bigger than a homeowner one, if he has some experience running a saw anyway, if he wants one a little bit bigger, have I got the Christmas present for you. Okay, you're going to make him a happy guy. He's going to be the envy of the whole block, I'm telling you. This year, they just still came out with their 500i. Is it the saw for me? No. And I'll get into that a little bit, but for most guys, yes. It's really coveted, it's hot, it's the new thing, everybody wants it. It has a few finicky things that I wouldn't personally like, but that's just because I like older stuff that, you know, carburation. And so here's what it's got going for it. The 500i, you're looking at, it's anti-vibration, okay, so it's spring-mounted and all that. I like a solid-mounted saw, but it's way easier on your hands, way easier on your shoulders, you know, it's not rattling you to death. So it's got that. It's got the new Elasto Start, is what they call it. Basically, I don't know exactly how they did it. I've never actually had my hands on one. There's something in the pull rope, okay, that is it makes it way easier on your shoulders and stuff to start the thing even. So it's way easier to start. It's fuel injected. It's the first chainsaw ever that's 100% fuel injected. It's all electronic controlled. The switches are even different. There's no choke switch on it anymore. Obviously, it's fuel injected, so no need to choke a saw ever again with this thing. And it's got a primer bulb on it. The primer bulb, I don't know. Like I said, I never ran one. I'm assuming probably just gets fuel out to the injectors, so it starts easier. The downsides, let's be realistic. Here, we can go back to this page now. So the downside, let's be realistic. There's a few things I don't particularly like. Let's go down to the 500i. Where is that sucker? It's right here. Okay, so MS 500i. Again, there's a couple options here. I'm not sure which one's the Pro, which one is not. Okay, so you got the 500i specifications. So let's look over this thing. You're jumping up to almost 80 cc's. Okay, well, that's a handful of saw. It is. Engine power, fuel capacity, yada yada. Weight, you're still at 13.9 pounds. So you're not any heavier than the 460, or well, I guess the new 462. So you're not any heavier. And she's a cute looking thing, for sure. You know, pretty sleek looking design, all that. The things I personally don't really like is the anti-vibration. I like a solid mounted saw. I've ran anti-vib ones before, and the way they flex in your hand, it just kind of feels unnatural. I don't know. I'm sure they're just fine. It just, to me, feels weird. Fuel injected and electric controls, I don't like. I like having a carburetor. When something isn't running quite perfect, I can tune it and adjust it. Even if something's a little bit wrong with it, there's a little gasket leaking or something, I can adjust my way out of that enough to finish the day of work. So I like the old school carburetors. I'm not knocking the fuel injection. Like I said, I haven't ran one. I'm sure they run like a dream. It's just something personally I would like to stay away from. But I think in modern times, I think they're fuel injecting almost all of them now, and they're leaning that way, especially with emissions and environmental stuff. So I suspect we're going to see a lot more of that, sadly, and a lot more computer operated, sadly. Not my cup of tea, but you know, hey, if they can dial it in, I'm sure they run great. It just makes it harder to work on. That's my only complaint, just harder to work on. And then a primer bulb. Boy, I wish you could get a different view of this thing. So the primer bulb, you see these on a lot of like weed eaters, smaller chainsaws. It's a little clear bulb right here, right? It's on the other side, but it goes to your fuel tank and it carries fuel, and you push that bulb and it pushes fuel up into the system. Now, in my experience, like with cheap Polans, those bulbs eventually wear out. They crack, dry out, get brittle, and they don't give you any warning when they break either. It's just all of a sudden you go to push it and it cracks open and you're leaking fuel everywhere, and then your saw won't run because you're sucking air and you know what I mean? It's not ideal to me, not something I'm looking at. But until it ever went out, I'm sure it works great. So, so that's kind of that. And so yeah, guys, you know the 500i. I mean, it's the new, it's the new thing. It's the new what everybody wants. Okay, a lot of the industries they're super excited to get this. Um, Supposedly it's more fuel efficient, runs smoother, less vibration. So it's really the hot deal. There's a lot of buzz going on around it, and because of that, they're really hard to find. Okay, a lot of people are sold out of them. So if you can find one for your husband, and he can have his hands on a brand new 500i steel in the box, Christmas Day, man, you will see him smile like he's never smiled before. So anyway, that's my list. Guys, gals, anybody shopping for a husband, father, son, brother. Us guys are hard to shop for sometimes, and I just gave you 1, 2, 3, 4 or 5 really good options. No matter what one of those saws you get somebody, they'll be tickled pink, man. You won't see them smile like that for years. One of the best Christmas gifts I ever received was a good chainsaw, and I really, really appreciated it. I still run it to this day. I still kind of baby it. I mean, I've ran it thousands of hours. I made a living with it during depressions. It's just never let me down. Steel chainsaw's a little spendy, but you totally get what you pay for. I mean, they're amazing. They're phenomenal. They're dependable. They're just the workhorse of America. There's almost nothing more patriotic than running a steel chainsaw. He will absolutely love it. So there you go. Good luck this Christmas. Everybody be safe.